Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. Strangle your demons and let's go.
Y'all need Jesus!
Spending all my nights, all my money going out on the town. Doing anything just to keep you off of my mind. But when the morning comes, I'm right back where I started again. Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. I am your host, Eric Hellberg. What do we say, man? We're like Einstein. We have no special talents. We're just passionately curious about all things pertaining to men. How in the hell did we get here, and where is it that we want to go? Man, that's an old school song by Player. That's right. So this song's going out to all the players and the ladies out there, but in a nondescript way. We're just saying it in jest, but it's a wonderful song. And later on in that song, it talks about all day long, wearing a mask of false bravado. Yeah, who's doing that? Here's where I'm going to begin. Some people love this show. In fact, it's in 55, 56 countries. I have to check. I talk about it from time to time. Listenership is primarily men, and we know as men, in order to keep our chin up, sometimes we do have to go around with a little false bravado. But in a man's world, and in a pure man's world, bravado, presence, and stature are everything. So if you don't like the show, guess what? That's cool too. You're welcome to message me. That's why we put the availability on the show's website. It also includes my normal email address, whereby you can get in touch with me. And if you want to have a carefully planned diatribe or an off-the-cuff discussion, message me. I will listen to your concerns. Hell, I might even take your suggestions and do a show. Some of my episodes have been done because people said, Eric, I want to hear about this. I want to know more about this. What do you think about this? And I will willfully oblige. But if you are a naysayer and you have something to tell me, take off your mask of false bravado and communicate. Because I had a couple of emails sent to me. Ironically enough, it was after I talked about pedophile Biden. And I think it was Tyrannical Thursday. And if you don't believe that we're living under tyranny, that's fine. You're obviously not a sheepdog. You are a sheep. And you're definitely not the perfected lamb, which is our Lord Jesus Christ. But we will call you a sheep, a sheeple. And if you don't believe that the probability is very high that the Clinton Foundation, President Joe Biden, are not involved in child trafficking, well, you're just dismissing the obvious. And in regards to Biden, I carefully laid that out for you, whereby even you could connect the dots. So who is it that you are? One emailer's name, was a gentleman by the name of Bo Cephas. The other one called himself the Nonsense Investigator. Did you know I actually have run many an investigation and have found some of the most unsavory people from all over this planet that are right here in America? Did you know I have been directly in front of them, eye to eye, sweat coming down, us tasting one another like death is imminent? And in some cases, had I not been able to carefully extricate myself, it probably would be. Okay. Did you know I've done that with 5 people in front of me? Men in front of me. 10 men around me with witnesses to concur with the story, Do you know I have the ability to take your nondescript names, run it through my data sets, get the physical address associated with your emails, and come have the conversation with you in person that you're too cowardly to have with me behind the scenes? And if you're really good, what are you going to do? Have a P.O. box associated with it? Ultimately, somewhere down the line, one of those P.O. boxes has to have a physical address attached to it. All right, that's what I'm going to say. You still have the ability to reach out to me. I'll give you my mobile. If you're local, I will meet you anywhere and any time. And unless you are supported and or insulated by someone with some juice, and maybe you are, and that's why you hide. You let other people do your fighting for you. But if you want to talk about the physical realm, here I am, a little broken down at 53 years old. Ask anyone who knows me, since one of you said an acquaintance of yours knows of me, this and that. They know that I'll hand you your ass so quick you won't even have a chance to wipe. So shut the hell up and just have a healthy discussion. That's what's wrong with the country today. So let's see if I can do this, man. Are you ready? Bear with me. A one, a two. Now that I put it all together, give me a chance to make you see. Yeah. Hey, I'm not a singer, right? Just like Garth Brooks, ain't going down till the sun comes up, and he lamented the fact of how good that song stayed on some of those high notes in the studio. But then he realized he had to do it live year after year after year. Then he had a hiatus, came back and had to hit those, and it would scare him beforehand. And I'm not a singer, guys. But now that I have put it all together, I'm asking you to give me a chance to let you see. And in the last episode, before we just took care of these perfunctories, we were talking about democracy and death. And I talked about the BRICS countries, and I talked about the G7 countries. So who are the G7 countries, right? Well, that's us. And I actually think, as I was hurriedly going through them, when I laid out the BRICS nations, I said it was us, but I clarified in the comments after. But let's just get this firm line of delineation out. Here is the G7, and both groups were made up as what you would call an alliance for economic and similar ideal. We would call those organizations, parties, groups. And we belong to the G7 with Canada, France, Germany, Italy, of course, the UK, and Japan. And then the non-members that aren't in name, we would say the other countries of the EU and or the European Union. Well, where is the strength in the G7? I'd have to look up who the PM of Japan is, but I would say he's probably our strongest dude. Italy, I don't even know who that is. But Germany, Merkel, are you kidding me? The lady? Boris Johnson in the UK? The guy who had a chance when Zelensky shit his pants when Russia actually crossed the border. And he's like, they're going to kill us all. But Boris Johnson said, you're not allowed to surrender. Joe and I need to make big money. Our defense industry needs big money. All of you die. Let our bigwigs make some money on the backs of your deaths. And it wasn't even your people's deaths, Volodymyr Zelensky, because we know that you are ethnically Russian. That's how you were able to learn the Ukrainian language. You didn't even speak it before this quote-unquote war began. You're another sheep being used. Okay? And then who else do we have? Trudeau? I don't know. Another tight and skinny tie wearing pansy who hates his people. That's our G7. When you combine all their populations, they are approximately 800 million people around the world. Well, that's significant. right? Well, let's take a look at who comprises BRICS. And the reason it was given that acronym is because it was simply the first letter of each member country, which began with Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But also, part of its membership is Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the United Arab Emirates. My God, we have all this business dealings in the Middle East. But the UAE, the money centers, meaning Abu Dhabi and Dubai, the equivalents to our London and New York, are part of BRICS. These are enormous land masses, guys. Russia, India, China. Are you kidding me? Iran. And they comprise 3.5 billion people. Who is more powerful? 3.5 billion versus 800 million? Are you seeing a little bit of disparity there? Maybe America needs to drop its mask of false bravado. And manpower alone, meaning, since these are economic unions, prosperity, advancement, coming together in manufacturing, building, making things, innovation. You think America can outbeat these countries? Militarily, we're not talking about engaging in small arms fire with guys wearing cheetah high tops running around the Middle East. We are now talking set piece battles. Militaries capable of striking anywhere in the world across many different fronts. You don't think that we can be engaged in a proxy war in Ukraine or even try to mass along NATO's borders? And Russia doesn't have unbelievable submarines that are nuclear capable that can be sitting right outside the West Coast right now? Are you effing fools? I happen to be close now with a guy, a badass guy. He rose up to the ranks of, it may have been Master Chief. I know at least Senior Chief in the Navy. But even better than that, he was a Mustang. He became an officer. And I'm going to tell you this, men. No men want to be led by another man who is not engaged in the activities by which he wants to lead the men. So there's your example. And that's what's wrong with America. We have men leading us who haven't ever been in anything. They've come from something or had a position or have been put somewhere and they haven't led men. They don't know men. They don't know how to inspire men. They haven't dealt in depravity with the men that are supposed to follow them. So F them. They're going to lead us to death wearing that mask of false bravado, which is all they have because they've done nothing. Behind the mask, they are nothing. Right, Joe Biden? Right, Barry Obama? Right, William Jefferson Clinton? Yeah, you went to Georgetown. Big effing deal. We need leaders, especially if we're going to compete against countries like BRICS. Do you get what I'm saying? That's why we are in trouble. We need a new way. We need a new strategy. We need men, and men who actually want to serve other men and lead other men and inspire them and help them to rise up. Our country is desperate. Vote your conscience come November. Until next time on the Comfortable in Chaos podcast, I bid you bon voyage, my burgeoning flock.
Until next time, like and subscribe to the Comfortable in Chaos podcast.